Bam. My peoples. My peoples. Abdullah Mason, is a young fighter who has shown that he's special. We see his skills, his footwork, hand speed, ring IQ, and he's a fighter who has it all. Very young, still in that development process, very promising. And he says that he'll be going after Keyshawn Davis and Shakur Stevenson. Is he ready for that type of fight? Let's talk about it, my peoples. Y'all already know what it is. I'm Jay Smith. This is Box Center, your favorite boxer's favorite boxing show. We gotta talk about it, my peoples. Now, Abdullah Mason, he's special. There's no getting around it. He's a special young fighter. And we know that Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis, they're the guys at the top of the division. Two reigning world champions, two special fighters. People consider them, amongst the best in the world today. And for young Abdullah to, already be naming those guys, that says a lot about him. That says a lot about the type of fighter that he is. He's not going to try to avoid these fights that could lead to a loss. He's going after all the smoke. That's his slogan, appetite for the smoke. So I think Abdullah Mason is a fighter who he's going to accomplish a lot of big things in the sport of boxing. Now, can he beat Shakur Stevenson or Keyshawn Davis at this point in his early career? I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I'm not making any predictions. I'm not saying that he can win those fights or that he cannot. But that's tough. He's young, early in his career. That's tough for him to go after, one of those world champions. JJ's in the house. Good morning. I'm here, Jay Smith. Let's go. Lots of good fights coming up. What's the deal, my G? Appreciate you dropping in. Kyle Wilkinson, what's the deal, my brother? Appreciate you tuning in. But my peoples, let me just let you know, the WBO has stated that if Keyshawn Davis beats Edwin De Los Santos, they're going to mandate a fight with Abdullah Mason. So we might actually have Abdullah Mason and Keyshawn Davis fighting later this year. That would be crazy. Now, that's not a possible matchup that we have been, talking about. I had not talked about it because I simply didn't think that Abdullah was going to fight at that level this year just yet. I thought that they would give him maybe 1, even 2 more years before getting him there. You got to remember, Abdullah's like, what, 20 years old, 21? Like, he's young. He's a young kid. And to put him up against the best out there, whoa, that's tough. That's tough, my peoples. I want to see it. I want to see it. I'm not going to lie to y'all. Abdullah Mason versus Keyshawn Davis is a heck of a fight. Heck of a fight. But we've already been seeing that Abdullah Mason is really about that action. He's really trying to fight the best out there. And you got to respect that. You got to respect that. You think about this. Abdullah's only like 20, 21 years old, and he's trying to fight Keyshawn Davis and Shakur Stevenson ASAP. That young. And you look at Tank Davis, who's 30 years old. His entire resume, he hasn't faced anybody like that. That's how you can see the difference in mindset. Tank Davis, he's trying to make that money, trying to make that bag. Abdullah Mason is trying to create that legacy. He's trying to do some things in the ring. He's trying to beat some people that is going to make everybody say, whoa, did he just do that? Now, obviously, he's betting on himself. Can he beat these guys? Let's see. Maybe we'll have the opportunity to find out. JJ's in the house. Whoa, that's cool. Are they moving him up too fast or no? El fantasma de Geraldo Leden. Salute, my brother. So JJ's in the house. Let me tell you something. As far as are they moving him up too fast, honestly, I feel like it is a little bit too fast to be talking about, Shakur and Keyshawn. But they know better than me. They know better than us. His team know better. So from the outside looking in, it looks like, Abdullah's still a little bit too young to get up there with the big boys. But, you know, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know if they all feel confident that he can win those fights. It's kind of like, remember when, well, some of you are not going to remember because you may be too young, but when Mike Tyson became the heavyweight champion of the world, he was only 21 years old. Accomplished that feat at 21 years old. So it can happen. A young fighter can win a big, big fight. But it's tough. It's tough. JJ Cendejas kind of reminds me of Fernando Vargas. You see, that's something that can happen when you take a young fighter and you put him up against the best out there. That can happen. They took Fernando Vargas and put him up against Tito Trinidad, who was, the number one pound for pound fighter in the world at the time. And then after that, they put Vargas up against Oscar De La Hoya, who was also one of the guys who was in the pound for pound list. De La Hoya and Trinidad both were right there in the pound for pound list. And that's who Fernando Vargas faced super early in his career. And, it could play out like that. Unlaced. Salute, my brother. Hash Bass. Abdullah is ranked number 2 for who belt? Well, in the WBO, I'm not sure what the ranking is. What I did see is that the WBO said that they will mandate a fight between Abdullah Mason and whoever wins, I guess. It's not necessarily versus Keyshawn Davis, because what if Edwin De Los Santos wins? But, Keyshawn Davis is going to be the favorite, and most of us expect him to win that fight. So the expectations would be that the WBO would mandate Keyshawn Davis and Abdullah Mason after Davis beats De Los Santos. Kyle Wilkinson. Who do you want to see Moses Itama fight next? He's from my hometown. No bias. I think he's big name for the future if he stays disciplined. So, I think he's real early on in his career. I think he can, be a major player in the game. I see a lot of upside. Physical. He has that physical presence. He's strong. Power with both hands. Good, real good movement. Knows how to set up his opponents with big shots. So he has a real high ceiling. I think he could become a world champion. He probably will become a world champion. But I think that they don't want to rush him. I heard somebody mention his name with Bacoli. You don't put him up against Bacoli just yet, because, he could take a nasty beating, get knocked out, career gets derailed, and everything goes downhill from there. So I think they got to give him a little bit more time. Give him at least, I would say, 2-3 more fights that are, a little on the easy side, just to develop a little bit more, and then go for the kill, go for the big boys. But I would say Moses Itama is a guy who has, a lot of talent, a lot of tools in the bag. So let's see how far he's able to go. I do believe that he can become a world, or probably will become a world champion. I gotta say that for sure. But again, my peoples, the idea of this young kid, Abdullah Mason, fighting Keyshawn Davis or Shakur Stevenson this early in his career, I think that's a huge gamble. Like I said, you take a fighter that young and you put him end it with somebody who's a world champion, who's faced tough opponents, who's seasoned already, and it's an uphill battle. It will be an uphill battle for Abdullah Mason. I'm not saying he cannot win those fights, but the odds are going to be against him. JJ's in their house. Baby steps, but not crawl like Tank. Oh nah, man, Tank. He's not even taking baby steps or crawling. He's just standing in the same spot. He not trying to go nowhere. And look, I'm disappointed in Tank Davis that, without fighting any of the best in any of the divisions that he's fought, he's already talking about retirement. And it's crazy because Tank even said that he's, an all-time great. Like, he's putting himself up there. And I find that to be crazy because, I said it before. Tank is a very talented fighter, special fighter. But his resume is not special. His resume is not Hall of Fame worthy. It's not. Just keeping it real, my peoples. Kyle Wilkinson. I'm about to go off for road work. Catch you soon, people. Have a good one. Have a good one, my brother. Enjoy it. I'm about to do my road work in about 45 minutes. I got to do mine too. So enjoy it, my brother. I'm going to do the same as well. Um, so there you have it, my people. That's my thoughts. I feel like, Abdullah Mason, very special young man, very talented. I don't think that, he's ready for Keyshawn and Shakur this year. I think they needed to spend a little bit more time developing him before he step up to that level. Because you got to understand, Keyshawn and Shakur, they're levels and levels above anyone Abdullah has ever faced. So that's going to be a huge step up for him. Is he ready for that? I'm not sure that he is. But if he thinks he is, if his people thinks he is, then I want to see those fights. I want to see it. Let's see if the WBO mandates him to fight Keyshawn Davis. We might just get that fight later this year. We might actually get that fight. JJ's in there. Hit the like button, everyone. Hell yeah, my brother. I appreciate it. You come through in this live, my peoples, don't forget to hit that like button, man. That really helps. Let's jump me into this algorithm, man. And listen, Box Center is going to be the #1 boxing channel on YouTube. Period. It's going to be #1. There's going to be the best boxing channel in this country, in this earth, in this galaxy, in this universe. Even the aliens ain't going to have a boxing channel like this one. I'm telling you right now. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Abdullah Mason and, him fighting, somebody like Shakur Stevenson or Keyshawn Davis. It looks like he might end up fighting Keyshawn Davis later this year, simply because the WBO says that they're going to, make him the mandatory for the champion. So it looks like we might get that fight. Now, while we get that fight, taking into account that I expect Shakur to beat Zepeda, what's next for Shakur then? Okay, Abdullah Mason is going to get Keyshawn Davis for later this year. That's just an assumption. But what's next for Shakur, man? Are we finally going to get Shakur Stevenson versus Tank Davis? Or is Tank Davis going to retire? Is Tank Davis going to fight Lamar Roach, possibly win, and then fight Jake Paul at the end of the year, and then retire? That would be horrible. If Tank Davis was to fight Jake Paul at the end of the year and retire, that would be horrible. But it can happen. It absolutely can happen. The moment I saw Eddie Hearn say, hey, Tank Davis is going to fight Jake Paul in November, I believed him. I don't think Eddie's going to just make some stuff up out of thin air. He had to have seen or heard some information to confirm for him that that fight is going to happen. That's all I'm thinking to myself. Angry Mexican, this stream earliest. Yo, sometimes it be like that, homie. Hash Bass. Keyshawn will move up to 140. And Abdullah getting Shakur. I don't know, my brother. I don't know. I don't know how you making that prediction because as of right now, there has been no confirmation that Keyshawn is moving up to 140. If anything, Shakur might end up moving up to 140 first. If anything, Shakur might end up at the 140 division before Keyshawn Davis, my brother. Because Keyshawn Davis has options at 135. There's people that want to fight him at 135. Nobody want to fight Shakur. So he might actually go to 140 first. JJ said that Tank will probably retire. Probably best odds. That can happen. Tank Davis can end up retiring after fighting Jake Paul. You know, obviously, if Tank Davis and Jake Paul fight, he's going to get a huge bag. And, yo, I don't put it past him. Tank Davis already been talking about retirement. If he gets, $20 million, $30 million versus Jake Paul, or maybe even more, I wouldn't be surprised if he retires after making a bag like that. He's already hinting. He's already saying that he's thinking about retirement. And obviously, it looks to me like the main goal with Tank is to avoid Shakur Stevenson at all costs. Angry Mexican, Andy Cruz got to get some smoke. And listen, Andy Cruz versus Keyshawn Davis, that's a fight that's going to happen. I don't know how soon we're going to get it. You know, just being realistic here because, you know, Keyshawn Davis, he said the other day, you know, he'll fight Andy Cruz, but for him to fight Andy Cruz this year, Andy has to do like something big, like, you know, like his name got to blow up and he'll be like, let's get it. But if not, you know, I think that they're going to wait for Andy's star power to go up a little bit more. And I believe we're going to get that fight, and it's going to be a mega fight. But not just yet. They got to let that one marinate a little bit more. On Lace, maybe one of Eddie's fighter got an offer for an undercard of Jake versus Tank. Listen, man, Jake Paul versus Tank Davis, that to me, that's a joke. That fight is horrible for boxing simply because what we're saying to everybody is that not we, what they're saying, what Tank and Jake are saying to everybody and those people is that you don't need to earn a title shot in boxing. You don't need to, you know, earn the opportunity to fight the best. All you need is the popularity. If you become popular enough, you can climb the ring with the best boxers. And I don't believe that's a good message to send out to the fans. You know, Jake Paul, like, what the hell has he done to get in the ring with somebody of the caliber of Tank Davis, who some people call the face of boxing, who's one of the most talented boxers, who's a special fighter, a superstar boxer? What has Jake Paul done to get in the ring with him? That's crazy. So I believe a fight like that is sending the wrong message to the fans. JJ's in the house. Maybe Tank will fight Hulk Hogan and then retire. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what kind of circus show Tank Davis is trying to be a part of. But, and look, I don't have a problem with retired fighters doing exhibitions. I don't have a problem with a fighter who's at the tail end of his career, close to retirement, doing exhibitions, getting that money. But a guy like Tank Davis, who's 30 years old, who's still dead in the center of his prime, how do you go participate in this circus show? How can you even look in the mirror, bro? Like, yeah, I'm going to go fight Jake Paul. Like, even Tank Davis have been laughing and joking about Jake Paul. And you're going to climb the ring with him? You're going to give him the power to say, yeah, I'm fighting this guy? That's crazy, but that's what money does. Money makes people disregard sound logic. Forget about logic. Forget about the fans. Let's get this money. That's what it's going to be about. And that's crazy. Hash Bass. We never heard Tank saying he's fighting Jake Paul when he needs to focus on Lamont. I mean, it's not about what we heard him saying or what we didn't hear him saying. It's what he's planning on doing. So, you could say we never heard him say about Jake Paul, but what's going to happen when they finally announce it? Or you're going to be able to say, oh, I'm disappointed in Tank. That's not really what I wanted for. So you could keep pushing back the idea of it happening, but it seems like it's the inevitable. When you got somebody like Eddie Hearn stepping out there and saying Tank is fighting Jake Paul in November, that's pretty much a done deal, brother. I know as a Tank Davis fan, you don't want to believe it. You don't want to believe that Tank is going to fight this golf ball. But what's going to happen when they do announce it? You're going to have to shift to something else. Right now, you're not entertaining it. But then what you're going to do when they announce it? Feel bad? Find a way to support Tank anyways? I don't know. But that fight is pretty, with the people that I've heard talking about it, I believe it's pretty much a done deal. Eddie Hearn, he's not going to make that stuff up out of thin air, brother. He's not. That fight doesn't make any sense to you. Opinion, Hash Bass. It's called an opinion. If it doesn't make sense to you, cool. But it doesn't make sense to you. It makes sense to Jake Paul. It makes sense to Tank Davis because they're going to get a lot of money. It doesn't make sense to you because you want to believe that Tank Davis is really about that smoke. So when you see that Tank Davis is trying to fight a YouTuber, to you it doesn't make no sense. But yes, that's what Tank Davis is about. And you should have already known that's what he's about when he's 30 years old and he hasn't fought any of the best in any of the divisions that he's ever fought. You should already know that. You should already know that, my guy. Tank Davis, 30 years old, hasn't fought any of the best, and it's already talking about retirement. You should put those together, my guy. If he's talking to you about retirement, what do you think he's planning on doing? Jay Smith, it doesn't make sense to you either. I don't know what you're saying. It doesn't make sense to me. Come on, bro. You see? That's why I tell you that you be acting like a tankomaniac, because you're going to play psychic. You're going to tell me what makes sense to me. You're really going to play psychic. You want to play fanager, psychic, what else, my guy? Come on now. Stop. It makes perfect sense to me because Tank Davis, number one, Jake Paul was at his last fight, and they were going to announce that they were going to fight each other. But Lamont Roach beat Tank Davis up, so they couldn't fight Jake Paul next. They had to do the rematch. And Jake Paul said, I was there to announce my fight, but you see how it played out. Jake Paul told us already. So Jake Paul and Tank Davis was already planning on fighting each other. They was already planning it. And Jake Paul already came out and said out of his own mouth, we were planning on fighting, but look what happened with Lamont Roach. We're going to have to wait for the rematch. Out of Jake Paul's own mouth, you heard this, my brother. And then Eddie Hearn comes out and say, hey, Tank Davis is going to fight Jake Paul in November. So you got Jake Paul and Eddie Hearn both saying that the fight is going to happen with Tank Davis in November, and you don't want to believe it. Of course you don't want to believe it. Of course Tank Davis fans don't want to believe it. But that's the most likely scenario. Tank Davis and Jake Paul, and then Tank Davis retires without fighting any of the best in any division. Crazy work. That's crazy work, my peoples. How is this even possible? How is it possible that, the people, who are fans of Tank Davis consider him the face of boxing and everything, and the guy at 30 years old is about to retire with Jake Paul as his final opponent? That's disturbing. Angry Mexican. Tank versus Pac-Man. You never know. You never know, because if Pac-Man beat Mario Barrios, a lot of people are going to want to fight him. A lot of people. Manny Pacquiao is a legend, and with him being, an iconic fighter, even though he's in his late 40s, people will want to fight him. I'm sure Tank Davis will want to fight Manny Pacquiao because he know Manny Pacquiao is washed. Same thing like he wants to fight Lomachenko. So I know he'll want to fight Manny Pacquiao. Angry Mexican, I see it happening if Pac-Man beat Barrios. I mean, look, I don't think, I know that people are writing Pac-Man off, but, he already proved us all wrong with Keith Thurman. He proved us wrong. He showed us what he can do. So, me personally, my peoples, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to write Manny Pacquiao off because we saw what he did versus Keith Thurman. No, we saw what he did versus Keith, so I'm not ready to write him off. I feel like, Manny Pacquiao is a fighter. Manny Pacquiao is a fighter who has already shown us, what he's capable of doing. So I don't know. I think that Manny Pacquiao actually does have a shot. He does have a shot to beat Mario Barrios. We're gonna find out. We're gonna see how it plays out. Hash Bass, how Eddie could make a comment when he's not on Tank's team at all, brother. You don't need to be on Tank's team to have any information. What do you think Tank? You think Tank got a team like the FBI or the CIA that nothing gets out? Come on, bro. If he's negotiating with Jake Paul, Eddie Hearn has worked directly with Jake Paul. Jake Paul works with the Zone. Come on now. Come on now. They know run work with a lot of the same people, brother. Just because Eddie Hearn is, oh my God, just because Eddie Hearn is not in Tank Davis' team doesn't mean that he can't know what they're planning on doing, bro. That's crazy that you would even think that. Hash Bass, I thought you as good as your last fight, and Pac-Man last fight, he got beat up. You're as good as your last fight. That's something that makes sense to casual fans, brother. That's why you thought that. As a casual fan and as a Tankomaniac, you thought that you're as good as your last fight, but that's not true. Nobody's as good as their last fight. You can have a horrible performance and then come back and have a great fight right after that. So the statement, you're as good as your last fight, don't ever repeat it. That's casual fan stuff. People who don't know shit about boxing could say that. But anybody can have a horrible fight and then right after that have a great fight. That could go for anybody. Anybody could get their ass whooped and then right after that have a great fight. Let me just give you an example. Look at Rayo Valenzuela. Rayo Valenzuela got smoked by Edwin De Los Santos. Got stopped by Edwin De Los Santos. And look, then he put the beats on Pitbull Cruz. And everybody thought Rayo was going to lose that fight. I had people telling me Pitbull was going to knock him out. Man, people telling me Pitbull is going to knock Rayo out. And I was telling people, yo, Rayo is going to outbox Pitbull. Rayo's going to win that fight. Why? Because, see, that's the thing about casual boxing fans. You go by what you see right now and that's it. You erase everything from your head. Oh, he lost, he's a bum. He lost, he's a hype job. And it's not that. It's that in the sport of boxing, anybody can lose. And it happens. Anybody can also be upset. Taking a loss does not take away from your abilities. Does not mean that you're no longer an elite level fighter. Anybody can lose, bro. That stuff about, oh, if you lose, that's it, you're as good as that loss. Nah, that's people who don't know shit about boxing who say stuff like that. Come on now. I will say, my peoples, I will say, right now, we have to consider the fact that the 135 division, the 140 division, the welterweight division, all of those weight classes are on fire. All of them have elite level fighters on there. Young talent coming up. But who is going to fight who? You see it? That's why I like Abdullah Mason. Because even though it's dangerous for him to go that route this early, but it also shows us his genetic makeup. Abdullah Mason is a throwback fighter, an old school fighter who's really about that smoke. Look at the difference. We were just talking about Tank Davis. Tank Davis, 30 years old, still ain't fight none of the best. Still ain't fight none of the top dogs that you think, oh, this guy has a chance against Tank. Still. And it's already talking about Jake Paul and retiring at 30 years old. Abdullah Mason is in his early 20s and he's already trying to fight Shakur and Keyshawn Davis. In his early 20s, my peoples. And he's trying to fight the biggest dogs in the division. What is Abdullah, like 21, 22? I think he turned 21 recently. At 21 years old. So you, look, we could make the comparison in Tank Davis' career and the opponents that he has faced by the age of 30 and Abdullah Mason's career and what he's trying to do in his early 20s. The guys that Tank Davis has not fought already in his prime, Abdullah Mason is trying to get in the ring with them. What does that tell you about Abdullah? Ramon Seyfu, Tommy Hearns style. Oof. Thomas the Hitman Hearns, bro. Now I tell you what, Tommy Hearns, he had that height and reach advantage and he knew how to use them. But he also loved to get inside the phone booth and trade leather with his opponents. I love fighters like that. You know, tall fighters who like to fight on the inside, who know how to use that height and reach, but also like to bang on the inside. I love it. Love to see it. Ramon Seyfu, Abdullah has that mentality. He has that mentality and that elite level talent. You know, it's like I've been telling people. When you see a guy that young trying to get in there with the big dogs, you know that he's cut from a different cloth. You see it right there. They feel, you know, because I got to tell you, even I don't feel like he's ready for that type of fight yet. I'm telling you. And Abdullah Mason, if you've been following me long enough, you know that Abdullah's one of my guys. You know how I feel about him. I've told you, Abdullah is a special fighter, and he's going to accomplish a lot of big things in the sport of boxing. Do I feel like he's ready right now for, you know, for the best in the division? Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Because Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis, they're going to be step-up, you know, huge step-up fights. If you look at the type of opponents that Abdullah has faced up until this point in his career and compare them to Shakur and Keyshawn, these guys are levels above what Abdullah has been in the ring with. So I think it's a tough decision to get him in there with a world champion this early in his career. But if they believe in him, there's a reason for that. That's what I got to say. They believe in him. Abdullah Mason's team believes that he can beat one of those guys. And honestly, I believe that we're going to end up seeing it. The WBO has already said that they're going to make him the mandatory. So, you know, I think most of us expect Keyshawn Davis to get past Edwin De Los Santos. If that's the way that it plays out, we might get Keyshawn Davis versus Abdullah Mason later this year. That would be insane. That would be insane. Hash Bass. Who Keyshawn been in the ring with, though? Google the box rec, my brother. Keyshawn is a world champion. He's been in the ring with highly ranked opponents. I think his last 4 or 5 opponents were all ranked, highly. So instead of naming names, just look at the box rec. He's a reigning world champion, my guy, for a reason. Now, when you ask me who has Keyshawn been in the ring with, I ask you, who has Tank Davis been in the ring with? Last time I asked you that, you actually brought up somebody Tank fought like 7, 8 years ago. The Puerto Rican kid, the only reigning champion Tank Davis beat in his whole career. You got to stop doing that, Hash Bass. You ask who other fighters fought when Tank Davis ain't fight nobody. You got to stop having the same measuring stick for everybody. We spent 10, 15 minutes talking about Tank. Not one time did you ask who Tank Davis fought. As soon as we talk about other people, you ask who they fought. You need to be asking Tank Davis to finally fight Shakur. Ask Tank Davis to fight Teofimo. Ask Tank Davis to fight Boots. Hash Bass, you don't see that, my brother, but you're always asking about other people. You're always asking who this guy fought. What is this guy going to do? What is that guy going to do? But you never ask about Tank Davis. Why Tank Davis ain't fight none of the best? Why Tank Davis trying to fight Jake Paul and retire? Why Tank Davis 30 years old and he ain't beat none of the big dogs? You got to start asking those questions, my brother. I never see you asking about Tank. I see you asking about everybody. Come on now. Why you only ask about other fighters and you don't ask about Tank Davis' opponent? You don't ask about Tank Davis' resume, ever. But when other fighters come up, who he fought, who he beat. Who Tank Davis fought and who Tank Davis beat. Tell me that. Come on now. Hash Bass. At 135, no one is fighting the best. Okay, what does that have to do with Tank Davis? I'm not asking you who's fighting the best at 135. I'm asking you, who is Tank Davis fighting at 135? Who is Tank Davis fighting at 140? Who is Tank Davis fighting in any division? And that's what's funny about you, Hash Bass. That's why I entertain the conversations with you. Because you the same nigga that'll tell me that Crawford should move up and fight Benavidez. Everybody should move up and fight a big dog. But you never say Tank Davis should move up and fight Boots. You never say Tank Davis should move up and fight Teofimo. So other fighters, according to you, other fighters can move up and fight bigger guys in bigger divisions. But Tank Davis, he's stuck at 135 and he can't fight nobody. Come on, man. Come on, man. You be cooking yourself with your own logic, brother. It's like you got everybody could fight everybody else, but Tank Davis can only fight at 135. He can't fight nobody else outside of this division. Come on, man. You got to stop the tankomaniac logic, bro. The tankomaniac logic, you got to stop it. Raw dog. Tank is bubble wrap. I mean, but Tank is in a bubble wrap because of his team and his fans. His fans love to keep him in a bubble wrap. Oh, now Tank Davis can't fight in a different division. That's Hash Bass who actually told me that. I'm like, why he don't fight Teofimo? Nah, he's at 135. He can't fight in other divisions. That's the only division that he can fight. And then this same dude tried to tell me that Crawford should move up and fight Benavidez. So I'm like, wait a minute. How come this dude want Crawford to move up all them divisions and fight Benavidez, but Tank Davis can't fight nobody at 140 or 147? He can only fight the people at 135. What kind of tankomaniac logic is that? What kind of tankomaniac logic is that? Hash Bash, other fighters are moving up, and Tank and Shakur isn't moving up. It doesn't matter why Tank can't move up. Why you ask other fighters to move up, but you don't ask Tank to move up and fight Teofimo? Why you don't ask Tank to move up and fight Boots? Why you always mention Tank with other people? Look, right now you're mentioning Tank with Shakur, and you mentioned Tank with the other divisions. But when you asked about Keyshawn Davis, you didn't ask about the other people in the division. You only asked, yo, why Keyshawn Davis? Who Keyshawn Davis fought? But as soon as Tank Davis come up, you start mixing him up with other fighters. Oh, well, this other fighter too, and this other fighter too. So come on, Hash Bash. Why you always talking about other fighters, but as soon as Tank Davis come up, you mix everything up. You muddy up the waters. Oh, everybody gone from the division. Everybody moving up. And Tank and Shakur's not moving. We not talking about everybody. We not talking about Shakur. We talking about Tank. Why you don't ask Tank to move up? Why you don't ask Tank to fight Boots? Why you don't ask Tank to fight the best? Why you want everybody else to fight the best and not Tank? Enlighten me. Jay, Tank is a beast, but people making excuses for him. Even if he lost, but fought till the end, people always going to want to see him fight. Hello, I'm South Korean. Hello, cool guy. Ooh, shout out to South Korea. My brother, you know, your name is spelled in, I guess, Korean letters, so I don't know how to read that. But appreciate you dropping in. Salute, my brother. And shout out to everybody in South Korea who has ever tuned into Box Center. So again, my peoples, Tank Davis is 30 years old. He's a great fighter. Tank Davis is a great fighter. He's an elite level fighter. One of the best in boxing. His resume is not it. And then he got fans who keep justifying Tank Davis's resume by pointing at everybody else and pointing at other divisions. Hash Bash will talk about everybody and everything except Tank Davis. He'll talk about Shakur, Boots, Crawford, Canelo. He wants everybody to fight the best. But as soon as Tank Davis come up, you know, he's at 135 and he can't fight nobody else in other divisions and he can't really do anything. What's going on, man? My nickname, Built or Pirate. You very cool. What's the deal, Pirate? Yo, Pirate, salute. To you, my brother. I can see that you love the sport of boxing. And, yo, that's what Box Center is about. It's about boxing. People who love the sweet science. We go here and we talk about it. All the big fights coming up. You know, I also do commentary for the big fights. So if you enjoy the sweet science, this is it right here, my brother. Subscribe to this channel. Make sure you hit the like button. I promise you will not be disappointed. This is where it's at. I like boxing and MMA. Okay, I hear you, Pirate. So I like MMA too. However, I don't follow it as closely. So I don't comment on MMA because I'm not very knowledgeable when it comes to that sport. I enjoy it once in a while, but this channel is 100% about boxing. Hash Bash. When Tank said he's fighting someone at 140, he did it. What? When Tank said he's fighting at someone at 140, he did it. That was Mario Barrios that he fought at 140. Mario Barrios is not one of the best at 140. He's not one of the best in boxing. That's it. That's what you got, Mario Barrios. He fought one time for a secondary title, a Mickey Mouse belt, and ran right back down to 135 without a single title defense. Man, shut the fuck up. Shut your tankomaniac logic ass up. Stop. Pierre Oliver, what up? What's the fight you like the most? Inoue versus Nakatani or Inoue versus Bam? I like Inoue versus Bam better. I like Inoue versus Nakatani. Don't get it twisted. But I think that Bam is such a special fighter. And also, take into consideration that Inoue and Nakatani, they're both Asian fighters. I think that Bam being Mexican, the Mexican versus the Asian fighter, that brings another dynamic into it that makes it a bigger fight. But still, style-wise, I like Bam versus Inoue better. Jay, he only fought Mario Barrios. Yo, do you see the balls in Hash Bash bringing up Mario Barrios? Like he literally moved the foot one fighter and ran right back down and fought a fighter who had a secondary title while Josh Taylor was the undisputed champion. You really ignore the undisputed champion for a Mickey Mouse belt. Like that's a fight that you should keep quiet about, if anything. What you doing bringing that up? Keep quiet about it. Pirate. I like UFC fighter Shara Magomedov. I like him too, brother. I like to watch him fight. Jay, Inoue versus Bam is better. They closer to each other levels. Yo, like I said, man, Naoya Inoue versus Bam Rodriguez, to me, that's a monster fight for many different factors. I brought up the fact that, one is Asian and one is Mexican. But also when you look at their skills, what they bring to the table, their style of fighting. I believe that those two get in the ring and it's gonna be an explosive matchup. And I think Bam and Inoue are gonna end up fighting. I think they're gonna end up fighting. Pierre Oliver, Nakatani versus Bam can be good too. Hell yeah, that's a heck of a fight as well. I do want to, because obviously the monster Naoya Inoue is the bigger star, bigger than Nakatani. So that's part of the reason why I would prefer to see Bam and Inoue. And it's just the styles. Styles make fights, and I believe Bam and Inoue have the styles to be just pure fireworks. Banks OZ, Bam ain't beating Inoue. No way. I mean, we have to see the fight. We have to see the fight. We have to see it. I'm not willing to make a prediction when it comes to Bam and Inoue just yet, because they're not even in the same division right now. But I think that's a good fight, man. I think that's a real good fight. Bam is a special fighter. He's a special fighter. Banks OG. Bam trains with RGB. I'm telling you, my brother, Bam is a special fighter. He's a special fighter. Retro Flux. Check out Ilya Topuria. He is an MMA fighter and rate his boxing. He has a boxing heavy style. I've seen him fight. He's a very good striker. In MMA, I know they call him strikers. He's a very good striker. He's a very good puncher. As a boxer, it's hard for me to say because he's not boxing. Like, even though he has good hands, but I gotta see him in there, even if it's a sparring match, in a boxing match, so I could then really, determine how good I think he is. Jay, never know in boxing, Banks. It's been a lot of upsets in recent years. Pirate, you have very cool. I appreciate it, Pirate. Raw Dog, Espinosa versus Inoue. Who you got? Espinosa versus Inoue. I mean, to be honest, right now, I don't see anybody beating Inoue. I don't see nobody beating Inoue right now. But when him and Bam fight, I'm not sure. I got to make a prediction for that one. Right now, I don't see nobody beating Inoue. But Bam is a fighter who right now, I'm going to tell you, is a 50-50. I see Bam as a 50-50 with Inoue. Bam is a bad mofo. I'm trying to tell you. Bam is a special fighter. Pierre Oliver, Abdullah special. That's a fact. The only thing with Bam that I don't like is that I don't feel like they're doing enough to make his star power go up. And the reason I say that, if you notice, Bam is a fighter who you don't see him a lot in social media. He has his Instagram deactivated. And I believe that, with the type of accomplishments that he already has, he's supposed to be a bigger star than what he already is. But Bam reminds me, and I'm going to tell you a name of an athlete that practices a different sport but reminds me of Bam. Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan obviously was a basketball player, right? He's retired. But Tim Duncan was a special basketball player, one of the best of his era, one of the best ever. Yet, he wasn't a big superstar. You know why? Because Tim Duncan played basketball, did his thing in the basketball court, and then quietly went home. You didn't see Tim Duncan in the red carpets. You didn't see him getting in controversies. You didn't see him, coming out on all type of stuff on TV. You didn't really see Tim Duncan like that. He just wanted to play basketball, win, and go home to his quiet life. And Bam is kind of like that. Bam, he goes up, wins in spectacular fashion, and then he goes home. You don't see him. You don't really see him like that. You don't see him giving interviews like that. You don't see him talking like that. So I think that he has to be, engage the fans more. Steve Nash, I agree with you, my brother. Steve Nash was that same type of guy. So that's what I believe, that Bam, his team has to do more to make him a bigger star. Like, this kid is so young and he's already so accomplished. Multi-division, unified champion, undisputed champion. He's accomplished so much. And yet, a lot of people don't even know him. So, that's what I think they need to do. They need to work on raising his profile, on making him a bigger star, because he already has the accomplishments for that. Jay, even Tim Duncan trash talk was low-key. Ooh, almost. I'm trying to tell you, Tim Duncan was a guy that could have been one of the biggest superstars in the NBA. But he just wanted to play basketball and go home, and that's it. He didn't really want that attention. He didn't want to be in front of the cameras. And Bam comes across like that to me. I see Bam, he's locked in his training camp. He does his fights, and once he fight, he's out of there. You don't see him again. Goes home, rests for I don't know how long. Then he's back in the gym. I've heard he's a gym rat. He's always in the gym, always training, until he starts his next training camp and is back to the same thing. And Bam used to have an Instagram, and he used to be posting on his IG. But I don't know, about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, he deactivated his IG, kind of got off of social media, and we don't really see him like that. We don't even hear from him like that. So that's my only knock on Bam, that they got to work on making him a bigger star. With his accomplishments, he's supposed to be a bigger star. Jay, sounds like Terrence Crawford. I would say sounds like Terrence Crawford at the welterweight division and before that. And the reason I say that is because Bud, if you remember, before he faced Spence, he did absolutely nothing to promote himself. And people would even talk about it, like, damn, Crawford. And he like, yo, I just want to fight. I'm not trying to do all that. But after he beat Spence, when he started to become a bigger star, you see that Crawford, is a lot more active on his social media platforms, gives interviews, goes to different talk shows. So Crawford's star power went like this. Boom! After the Errol Spence fight, his stock just skyrocketed. Why? Because he started putting himself out there. He started giving interviews, started promoting himself, started selling merch. And now he's the star that he is today. I'm not a Crawford fan. I hope Canelo drops his ass. I'm going to tell you, Banks OZ, Crawford might end up making history and beating Canelo Alvarez. He might end up making history, my brother. And I got to tell you, look. Let's go in this direction, my brother. Right? Banks OZ, I'm going to ask you the question. Why don't you like Terrence Crawford? Tell me why you don't like him. And let's talk about that. Jay, that's the point. How I think Bam is going to be like Crawford. He going to blossom later. It can play out that way. It can play out that way. Because Bam, he just doesn't like the attention. He doesn't like to be in front of the cameras. And Crawford was the same thing. I think that's something that you can also develop. You can also kind of learn to, what? This is part of it. This is a business. I gotta be there. I gotta do this. I gotta, be at the interviews, be at social media events, be at the, make your stock go up. Banks OZ, he's loud. Damn, you don't like Crawford because he's loud? That's it? That's the only reason you don't like him? Damn, bro, that's crazy. Because he's loud? That's it? So every fighter that's loud, you don't like? Pierre Oliver, appetite for smoke, Abdullah Mason. Yo, that's a great slogan, my brother. Appetite for smoke, that's a great slogan. And Abdullah Mason is showing us that he really does have that appetite. My boy just turned like 21 years old, and he's already trying to fight Keyshawn Davis and Shakur Stevenson. He really got that appetite. Jay, he don't like Crawford because he's black. I hope that's not the case, man. Come on now. I hope that's not the case. But Banks OZ, I gotta give it to you, my brother. For you to say that you don't like Crawford because he's loud, that's weak. That's weak, my brother. I thought you was gonna come with something better than that. That's weak, my brother. You can't knock somebody for being loud in a violent sport. This is a combat sport. Come on, my brother. When people fight each other, we trying to beat each other up, and you're going to say, oh, I don't like him because he's too loud. That's not why? Then go ahead, my brother. I'm giving you your chance. Tell me why you don't like Terrence Crawford. And we could talk about it. But I will tell you, Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez is, without a shred of doubt, the biggest fight in boxing. Huge fight. And I have to say, I understand why people see Canelo Alvarez winning that fight. I understand it. Because I got to tell you something, my peoples. And that's what those who've already been subscribed to Box Center, they already know this. I don't hate on fighters. I'm not a hater at all. So just because I see a guy winning doesn't mean that I have to discredit his opponent. If I see Crawford winning that fight, I don't have to discredit Canelo. I could tell you right now, Canelo is one of the best fighters of this era, and he's going down as an all-time great. I don't have to discredit him. That's not why. Banks OZ, that's not why. I think for years I did. Yes, I don't like Canelo, and I'm Hispanic. Jay, damn. Banks, Crawford doesn't like a lot of people. I mean, yeah, but, you're not really telling me, my brother, why you don't like Terrence Crawford. Okay, you didn't like him for a while, but why? What is there to not like about this dude? Like, me personally, my brother, I find Terrence Crawford to be highly likable. And the reason I find him to be highly likable is because look at his personality. If you see him on social media, how he carries himself. Crawford is a guy who, he's not cocky at all. He's confident, but he's not cocky. And he's a likable guy. I don't know why would you not like him. Now, the one reason I think why you may not like him is maybe you like, I'll give you an example. Spence fans. Spence fans hate Terrence Crawford. They hated Terrence Crawford before he fought Errol, And after he pummeled Errol Spence, that's when Errol Spence fans really started to hate Crawford. So if you're Errol Spence fans, then I could be like, yeah, that it makes sense that you don't like him. It makes sense. Jay, Canelo, one of the greatest to lace up the gloves. That's a fact. Canelo's an all-time great. But I think Crawford going to surprise a lot of people. I think Crawford going to shake up the world, my guy. I think he's going to shake up the world. Banks OZ, yeah, you're right. Jay, Crawford, the last of a dying breed. We might have, I'm not going to say he's the last of the dying breed because it look like we have some youngins coming up that are cut from that same cloth. Abdullah Mason is cut from that same cloth. Zachary Moses is cut from that same cloth. Banks, he's cocky. No hate though. Jay, he's really not cocky though. Banks OZ, I'm 47. Yo, Banks OZ, man, you're the same age, my brother. I'm going to be 47 years old on June 21st. Banks OZ, Spence is a cocky dude for real, for real. Listen, talking about Errol Spence, I will say, honestly, I thought he was going to retire. He says that he's coming back. I saw a comment that he put, somebody posted, and he commented saying, I said I'm going to come back when I'm ready. Nobody's going to rush me. So it looks like Errol Spence is not retired. It looks like he's going to come back. Just wanted to point that out. Jay, Errol Spence fans either became Crawford fans or Crawford haters. No in between. I agree with you, my brother. I agree with you 100%. Errol Spence fans, yo, a lot of them hate Terrence Crawford to the core. And it's because of that. Because he gave Errol that beating. But you, look, I got to tell you, my peoples. I know most of you in here watch Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. That fight, it got to the point by like the 6th round where we was already feeling sorry for Errol. How often do you watch a fight that you feel sorry, like, damn, B, that you like, oh, you like, damn, they beating him up out there. I remember I was watching a fight and I saw a tweet from Devin Haney. Crawford is beating the shit out Errol. I like, damn, they watching this shit, this beatdown? Like, what we saw with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, that was a historical beating, my people. Think about it. 2 undefeated champions fighting for all the marbles, for undisputed. And Crawford gave him that beating like that. I want you to think about when is the last time that you saw 2 undefeated fighters face each other where one gives the other one such a nasty beating like the one Crawford gave Errol. Y'all think about that. Team SLY. Salute Jay Smith in the chat. Salute, my brother. Appreciate you dropping in. Bam. Jay, I was just telling the homie I start feeling bad. Trying to tell you, it was like watching a slave get beat. My dog, it just didn't sit right with my spirit. I'm trying to tell you, my dude, and you remember that Errol Spence said some funny shit that he was going to beat him like Kunta Kinte or some shit like that. He said some slave shit like he was going to beat Crawford. I don't know if it was like Kunta Kinte or like a slave or something like that. Yo, Errol took a nasty beating, my people. And look, and I'm going to tell you something. We've seen people get beat up. We've seen fighters take a nasty beating. This is not the... But when is the last time you saw an undefeated champion take a beating like that one? Now think about it. We have to go back. You know who took a beating like that? Arturo Gatti took a beating like that to Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather gave a nasty beating to Arturo Gatti. And he gave a nasty beating to, rest in peace, Diego Chico Corrales. So Floyd gave But Arturo Gatti had already lost a few times when he got beat up by Floyd. Chico Corrales was undefeated when Floyd dished out that nasty beating to him. You could go all the way back to when, let me see, it was Thomas the Hitman Hearns who put a nasty beating on Duran, on Manos de Piedra Duran. That was a nasty beating too. But I'm telling you, a historical beating, you don't see it every day. What Crawford did to Errol Spence, I don't remember when's the last time we seen it like that. Team SLY, I was rooting for Spence, and that's what really made me realize Crawford was a dog. I thought Errol would adjust, but he didn't. And let me tell you something, my brother. You could go back to this same channel. You could go back 2 years in this same channel and find my comments on that fight. I predicted that Crawford was going to stop Errol Spence in the 8th or the 9th round. And if you find those videos and you look at the comments, people were saying that I don't know shit about boxing, that I don't know what I'm talking about, that I didn't truly believe that was going to happen. And then after Crawford knocked him out, all those people, some of them deleted their comments. Some of them stopped commenting on the videos. They didn't even want to tell me, damn, Jay, you was right. You was right. That's what I predicted that was going to happen. And let me tell you why. He said he was going to beat him like Kunta Kinte. See? And let me tell you why, my peoples. I had Crawford knocking him out. I saw things that a lot of people were ignoring. And I want to tell you what I saw, and I want you guys to think about this. Terrence Crawford, we already know he's a gym rat. We already know that he's a guy who's always in the gym, who's always in great shape. You've never seen a picture of a fat Terrence Crawford. You've never seen a video of a drunk Terrence Crawford in a party. You've never seen a video of Crawford smoking. This guy is an athlete to the highest level, like Michael Jordan, like Floyd Mayweather, like the greatest to ever do it. These athletes who always stay in shape, who are always strong, who are in training camp when they don't even have a fight lined up. That's Terrence Crawford. Errol Spence was the opposite. Errol Spence is the opposite. Errol Spence is the guy, and I got this from sources who have inside information. Errol Spence is the guy who, if he don't got a fight lined up, if he don't got a contract signed, he don't go to the gym. You don't see Errol Spence training when he don't got an opponent lined up. There's a bunch of pictures, you can look them up, with Errol Spence with a little fat gut, with titties. Why? Because he blow up in weight, gain a bunch of weight, get chubby. So you're talking about a gym rat, a guy who's always strong, who's always in great shape, versus a guy who only goes to the gym when he got a fight lined up. So now we're seeing the difference in discipline and dedication. You see an Errol Spence hanging out with rappers, getting high, smoking blunts, drinking, partying. And you see Terrence Crawford in the gym, deadlifting over 300 pounds with his regular clothes on. That's how I knew Crawford was going to beat Errol Spence and stop him. We're talking about an athlete who's dedicating his life to his body, to being 100%. And then an athlete who's very talented, but he goofing around. He partying, he drinking, he getting high. When those two meet up, this athlete is going to win 10 times out of 10 times, my people. If you've been listening to me for the last 15 minutes, you'll learn something new about boxing. When you get two talented fighters that are undefeated, but this one is playing games, messing around with hoes, smoking blunts, drinking, and this one is in the gym, this one is going to win 10 times out of 10 times when they meet each other. And that's what we got with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. That next level athlete is Terrence Crawford. And y'all didn't find out When he beat Errol, the way that he beat Errol, that he's a next level athlete like Michael Jordan, like LeBron James, like Floyd Mayweather, like Tom Brady. If y'all didn't find that out, you're going to find out when he beat Canelo. Maybe then y'all going to be like, yo, Crawford is different. Crawford is on another level. Y'all going to see. You might think I'm capping, but y'all going to see. Jay, I still don't know too much about Abdullah Mason, but I've been hearing a lot about him. My brother, Abdullah Mason is a very, very, very special fighter. You should definitely follow up on him. Get put on, see what he's doing. Abdullah Mason is one of these fighters who is aiming to be like a Terrence Crawford, like a Floyd Mayweather, like a Sugar Ray Leonard. He's that fighter, one of those who you don't see him partying, you don't see him drinking, you don't see him smoking. He's living the lifestyle of an elite level fighter. So you want to keep your eye on Abdullah Mason. Definitely. Banks. Maybe I hated a little on Crawford and I got to stop. So that's my bad. I'm trying to tell you, my brother, Terrence Crawford is a very special fighter. And if you remove any bias that you might have in your head about him and really watch him as a person, think about this. Terrence Crawford is a great fighter. The nigga's a great father. The nigga take care of his kids. You see him taking them out, spends time with them. Yo, when people that are, stars of that level, sometimes they don't even see their kids because they're just moving around everywhere, doing things, working. Crawford spent time with his kids. You see him going to his kids' wrestling tournaments. You see him bringing his kids to boxing matches. So he's not just a great boxer. He's a great father, my guy. What could you not like about somebody like that? Who has his kids, athletes, building them up to become elite level athletes too. Yo, I'm telling you, Crawford is a man's man. Jay, I thought Spence was going to give it to Crawford until I start really looking between the lines. He don't smoke, don't drink, nothing. Errol Spence was getting chased by MO3. That's why he crashed his car in Texas. I heard about that. Honestly, I don't know if that's true, but I did hear about that. He been rolling with Yellow Beezy. So, and I remember, come on, man. You see Errol Spence partying, getting twisted. You see him with his eyes bloodied up, hanging out with Yellow Beezy. And then you go to Terrence Crawford Instagram. He's in the gym, pushing weights, sparring, hitting the bags. Come on now. I was like, nah, Crawford is going to stop him. Team SLY. I wish somebody would have told me that. Jay, ain't Abdullah Mason Muslim? Yes, sir. Abdullah Mason is a Muslim. So, look, I always take that into consideration, my people. And I be trying to tell you, I be trying to tell anybody who listens. Fighters, when they're young, they could get away with shit. For example, if a fighter's 21, 22 years old, he can skip days of running. Like he's supposed to run on Monday morning and decides not to go run, he can get away with that. Why? Because he's young. And when you're young, your body responds quickly. It's more athletic. He could skip a day of going to the gym if the fighter's in his 20s, in his early 20s. And he can go partying. It's fight week. He's going to fight on Saturday. On Thursday, he could go partying and get high and still get in the ring and beat the shit out of his opponent. But that's when you're a young kid. Once you get to your 30s, you can't get away with that no more. It's going to start catching up to you. And then once you fight somebody who is dedicated, they're going to beat your ass. They're going to beat your ass. That's the way it's going to go down. So that's why I've been telling people, I saw it happen, and I saw Terrence Crawford beating the shit out of Errol Spence because of the way that they live their lifestyles. Jay, they show the footage where the same car MO3 left the club in was in the only car that passed by right after Spence crashed his car. I mean, I think, it will still have to be speculation. And the reason I say that, my brother, is because it really hasn't been proven that MO3 was the guy chasing. We don't know who was the guy in the car. We don't even know if it was one of the same type of cars. Which obviously I don't believe in coincidences. It not necessarily has to be that way. But now, I tell you what, if Errol Spence was being chased by MO3, I think that we should have been able to find that out. And the reason I say that is because Yella Beezy is being investigated for that murder, right? Well, when you're being investigated, any emails you send, any text messages, anything you send with your device or with anything like that is going to be looked at. So I believe if Errol Spence was actually being chased by MO3, that he would have hit Yella Beezy up. Like, yo, it was, at some point he would have told them, like, yo, it was that nigga that was chasing me. Or it was this nigga that was trying to get me. So I think there would have been conversations between Errol and Yella Beezy about that subject. And if there have been conversations about that, that may actually come out when Yella Beezy go to trial. Let's see. Love More Hinduism. Spence is cooked. He may actually be cooked. He may be. He's not rushing. I seen that earlier or yesterday or the day before. He said he was in no rush to come back. That he's not retiring, but he's not in a rush. So it looks like he will come back. It definitely was a good idea for him to take a long break after taking that beat down from Terrence Crawford. And let's see. I do believe that Errol should come back to a tune-up. I have to say that. I believe, let me turn on this flashlight, my people. It's not even dark no more. I've been out here since 5 in the morning and it was dark, but that's it. Not even dark out here no more. I don't need a flashlight. So, look, honestly, I've been saying I felt like Errol Spence should have stayed retired simply because, the nasty beating that he took. And I don't want him to get brain damage or be messed up in the head from taking more punishment. But only him, his family, and his team know if he's good to keep going. When lies run the world, Almighty wins. Damn, that's a long name, my brother. Crawford looked unstoppable against Spence. He did. He did. He had, the perfect game plan. He was ready for Errol. And it's like I said, man, you got the athlete who's a gym rat, who's 100% inside the gym, versus the guy who's smoking weed, who's drinking, who's partying. That's what was bound to happen. That's how it was bound to play out. Jay, I feel like a weight was taken off Spence's shoulders after he lost to Crawford. In a way. I mean, there's two ways to look at it, right? A weight was taken off his shoulders, but also Spence went through a lot. I promise you, psychologically, taking a beating like that takes a toll on you. I know that psychologically, it affected him a lot. Because you got to remember, Errol Spence had never lost as a professional fighter. So when you never lost, for you to lose by getting your ass kicked like that, a beat down, when you get dropped multiple times, when you get left with your face looking like E.T., that takes a lot psychologically. But I will say, man, look, At this point in time, I wanted to see Errol Spence just retire because of that beatdown. But if he wants to come back, I just hope that he's good to go. That fight didn't mess him up over here. And when I say mess him up over here, I don't mean, mess up his focus. I mean, like, is Errol Spence punch drunk? Is Errol Spence stuttering? Is Errol Spence talking different after that fight? I don't know. Think about this, my peoples. Errol Spence and Terence Crawford fought each other about 2 years ago. Have you seen Errol Spence talking? Have you seen Errol Spence in an interview? Y'all tell me. What have you seen about Errol Spence after he fought Crawford? Tell me. Because to me, it felt like they've been hiding Errol from the cameras. They've been keeping him away from the cameras. That's how I felt. Because I remember when that fight finished, y'all may recall and I felt bad that they interviewed Errol right after the fight. He looked bewildered. He looked confused. He like, yeah, he beat me. I still gave it the best. And like, he just looked messed up. Like from all the punches that he took to the head. And I was like, let me see when they interview him after this. Or when he goes on social media after this. To see how he looks, how he talks, how he's sounding. And guess what? I just stood waiting. Errol Spence never really did an interview like that. Never really came out on television or showed up on social media like, hey, my peoples, I'm good. I'm in good spirits. I'm going to be okay. None of that. Errol Spence just disappeared. And then there were even concerns that people were worried about him. And people started showing pictures. Like, look at a picture of Errol Spence. He's good. He's doing okay. But it would be a picture of Errol Spence, a little bit far with his wife like this and with his kids. But you don't really see him talking like that. And Errol Spence was a guy who was always on social media, posting videos, posting pictures. He stopped posting. So I'm wondering, how is Errol Spence doing as far as up here, neurologically? How is his brain? When lies run the world, I feel like for the most part, people can tell if they're ready for the fight or not. And Spence should have known he wasn't going to fare well against Crawford. I mean, he should have known, but as an undefeated fighter, I guess he felt confident. Derek, Spence was right in giving up the rematch with Crawford. That'd be like trying to rematch the Ferrari he flipped. I mean, I think it was a good idea not to rematch. He was going to get his ass whooped. Could have been even worse. So I think it was a good idea. Jay, I think Spence just dropped a video talking. I'm going to look it up. Now, that video, because look, I got my other phone with me. And where was that video at, my brother? Because that's the thing. Errol Spence, after he lost to Crawford, he deactivated his Instagram. And ever since he deactivated his Instagram, I haven't really seen him like that. El fantasma de Geraldo Ledén. I thought he crashed because he didn't want anything to do with Terence. Now, I don't think so. I think he crashed because he was driving drunk. And then there's the rumors that he was actually being chased by somebody. Derek, Spence need a tune-up at 154 if he wants to come back. I would even be mad with him bringing up a C-level fighter from 147. I agree with you 100%. This whole notion that he should come back straight up, go for a big fight, I don't like it. And Errol Spence is the one that's been, no tune-up. I don't do tune-ups. I think it would be a bad idea for him to go for a big fight right away. And supposedly Keith Thurman is trying to get that smoke with Errol Spence. Now, Keith Thurman had been inactive for quite some time. But he came back recently and he looked real good in his comeback fight. Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence. I'm not sure if they should do that next. I think Errol should have a tune-up like you just said, and then him and Keith Thurman can get it in. Jay, it's on YouTube. Just type Errol Spence 2025. Okay. Okay, I'm definitely check that out, my brother. Errol Spence 2025. Because I'm telling you, my people, I personally was very worried about Errol Spence. Just feeling like, you know, that beating he took to Terrence Crawford, he might never be the same again. Might never be the same.
Yeah, today, March 1st, 2025.
Okay, I see.
Stop capping on me, man. The only reason I look 08 in that picture is because I had on like 3 sweaters that's cold as fuck in Japan. Like, stop it with this shit, man. I stay fit, man. You did? Yes, sir. And it's not tucked in. This is tucked in. Yeah, I let this shit out. Quit playing with me, man. I really do this shit, man. Yeah, today,
There you have it, my peoples. There you have it. Errol Spence, March 1st, posted a video checking himself out in the mirror. Looking good. He's looking good. Just a typo, Errol Spence 2025. Yeah, I just seen the video, my brother. Not to mention no more Derrick James. We got to see. We have to see Errol Spence with whoever his new coach is going to be. Obviously, he's not going to be with Derrick James. Let's see. Derrick, rare. A fighter looks good trading coaches at an older age. Gennady didn't look as good after he left Abel. I mean, look, we still have to see how Errol is going to look when he step in the ring. How is he going to react when he gets hit with a big punch? How is his punch resistance? As far as his offensive firepower, we already know what Errol Spence can do. But after taking such a nasty loss, we have to see how he's going to look. You know how many fighters I've seen take a nasty beating and then come back and they be gun shy? The first one that comes to mind is Adrian Broner. Y'all remember Adrian Broner? Think about Adrian Broner before and after Marcos Maidana. Yo, before Maidana, Adrian Broner letting his hands go. And after he lost to Maidana, that was what you hear people say about Broner all the time. Let your hands go, bro. Let your hands go. Throw some punches. He became extra cautious after losing to Maidana and stopped throwing punches. And that marked the rest of his career after that. When Broner lost to Maidana, he never went back to being the old version of Broner. So we got to see what version of Errol Spence we're going to get in his next fight. We'll see. Brian Romero, how do you think Crawford beats Canelo as far as strategy-wise? That's a great question, my brother, and I'll give you the answer. So what I believe is going to happen is that Terrence Crawford is going to effectively use his height and reach advantages on Canelo. He's a little bit taller. He has longer reach. So what do I mean by he's going to use it effectively? That jab. He's going to put that jab in Canelo's face. That's number one. Number two, Terrence Crawford has the better footwork out of them too. He will be using that footwork. That's why I tell people, they bring up Madrimov. Oh, he didn't look good against Madrimov. Crawford versus Madrimov is irrelevant. He's not going to fight Canelo the way that he fought Madrimov. He's not just going to stand in front of him and take his punches. He's going to use the footwork. He's going to use the lateral movement. And most importantly, he's going to use counter punches on Canelo effectively. So I see a very competitive fight. They're both going to win rounds. Canelo's not going to get washed. That's not what I'm saying. But what I feel like is that Crawford is going to be able to do enough to win rounds and to win by unanimous decision. Mr. Cayo, when Errol returns, do you see him competing at the top, a top 5 fighter at 154? I'm not sure, because he always talks about, not wanting a tune-up. To be honest, I think that he should do a tune-up. We're talking about 2 years of inactivity. But, Errol Spence got that mindset, so I'm not sure. I wouldn't have a problem with him and Keith Thurman fighting next. But Keith Thurman already had his tune-up. So I think that Errol should do a tune-up first. That's how I see it. Jay, he got to fight similar to Dimitri Bivol. Mr. Cayo, hell nah. That's discrediting how Floyd beat him too. I mean, look, you got to understand, Floyd Mayweather and Dimitri Bivol both beat Canelo Alvarez. They laid out the blueprint. Well, I believe that Terence Crawford has the skills to outbox Canelo the same way that Floyd and Bivol did. Same skills to do it just like that. Jay, I honestly wouldn't be surprised, only because how he came back and fought Danny Garcia and Ugas after his accident. Will he win? I don't know. But I can see him competing. I mean, Errol Spence is going to be able to compete. He's going to be competitive against everybody and anybody. He's still, an elite level fighter. But we have to see his punch resistance. How can he handle punishment after that last fight? Mr. Cayo, Crawford can catch and shoot and punch through exchanges and fight on the inside. He's going to move and try to outpoint Canelo to steal rounds, etc. That's facts. I see him winning rounds. Adding up rounds and winning the fight like that. Jay, how is that discrediting Floyd? Crawford doesn't fight like Floyd. He has height and reach with a jab. What did Dimitri Bivol have? Not Dimitri Bivol had the height. He had the height and the reach on Canelo and the footwork. The nasty footwork. Dimitri Bivol has great footwork. Drewski 310. Canelo is number 1. I mean, I can't argue with you on that, my brother. I see Terence Crawford beating him, but Canelo, a pound-for-pound fighter, an all-time great, one of the most accomplished fighters of this generation, the face of boxing. I can't knock you for saying that, my brother. I don't hate on Canelo. I got Crawford winning this fight, but I know what Canelo is, and I don't knock him. I don't disrespect him. Mr. Cayo, even Eddie Landis almost did it, but those styles frustrate Canelo even till this day. He didn't like how Skull ran the whole fight. Neither did he like losing to Bivol. He picked him up off his feet. Yo, y'all got to remember, Canelo lost to 2 fighters who were not known for having punching power and who didn't have a high knockout percentage. Floyd Mayweather, Dimitri Bivol. Neither one of those guys are hard punchers. That's why I tell people when they tell me, oh, Canelo's too big, Crawford is too little. When you say that, it's almost like you're suggesting that this fight is going to be about power. It's going to be about who hits harder. And it's not, my people. This fight is not going to be about power. It's going to be about skills. It's going to be about skills. We're going to find out. Bumquavius, bro, where you located at? It looks like mid-afternoon. Here in Cal, it's 3:25. Nah, it's 6:30 in the morning right now, my brother. I'm in Dominican Republic. 6:27 in the morning. Ramon Seifu, Canelo failing his drug test. Is that cool? Are you talking about what happened before with the controversy? If you're talking about what happened before, that is not cool. Everybody has their own perspective. I have mine, right? So here's what I'm gonna tell you about him failing that drug test, right? Let's get all the facts out there. So Canelo stated that he tested positive for clenbuterol because he ate tainted meat, right? Now, this is very important to keep in mind, my brother. If you do your research, if you Google it, you don't have to take my word for it. You're going to find out I never cap, ever. If I tell you something, it is what I'm telling you. But you can research it. I love it when people fact check me. So they're like, yeah, this motherfucker be talking facts. A whole team of youth football players tested positive for clenbuterol after going to Mexico for a tournament. They ate tainted food. They all tested positive. An American football player from the NFL went to Mexico to, party, tested positive for clenbuterol. So there's a bunch of athletes who went to Mexico and tested positive for that same thing. Clenbuterol is commonly used in Mexico for their cattle, for cows, to, grow the cows faster. So you can eat a burger and test positive for that shit. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The second thing to keep in mind, and this is important, they actually did a hair test on Canelo. And the hair sample tested negative. That's also important. You know why? Because your hair saves steroids like historical data. If you have long hair and you did steroids 3 months ago, that hair that was short, or the length where your hair was at 3 months ago, is going to show the steroids. Yo, if you got long hair up to here and you did steroids 6 months ago, that shit is going to come up in your hair. They did a follicle test on Canelo Alvarez, and it tested negative. And the doctor who did the test said him testing positive in his blood but testing negative in his hair says that the level of steroids in his system was so minimal that it is consistent with the consumption of food. Now I want you to think about this. This is not a doctor that Canelo hired or anything like that. This is a doctor that was hired by the sanctioning body who did the steroid test. So they did the steroid test and they say, okay, you're saying you're innocent. You're saying that it was tainted meat. We're going to hire a doctor to do a hair follicle test. So they got their own doctor to do their own test. And that came back negative. So based on all of the information that's available, I'm going to go ahead and say I do believe that he ate tainted food. If you don't agree with me, that's okay. But all I'm saying is that I'm considering all of the facts. Hair follicle tested negative. A doctor says that is consistent with consumption of food. And then a bunch of people who went to Mexico who also tested positive for clenbuterol after eating food over there. So because of all those factors, I believe that Canelo Alvarez did eat tainted food. That's my perception. Derek, Bud got longer reach than Canelo too. If anyone can jump up 2 to 3 weight classes and beat a pound for pound fighter, it's Bud. We have to see how he reacts when he gets hit. And I've been saying that to people. Physical advantages are important. Crawford is able to move up 2 divisions to fight Canelo because Canelo is a small 168 pounder. Canelo's not a big dude. Crawford is going to have 2 important physical advantages, which is height and reach. People think that, Canelo is this huge guy and Crawford is little. Nah. Did y'all not see them when they did a face-off? Right after Canelo beat William Skull, they did a face-off. Did Canelo look huge in front of Crawford? Nope. He did not. Mr. Cayo, Bivol had the skills, the Soviet style, in-out box footwork, constant moving with straight punch combinations, keeping distance, enough to frustrate Canelo. And you saw that Canelo wasn't able to dig hard to the body like he usually does. Because for you to dig to the body like that, you have to close the gap. You have to be at close range. Dimitri Bivol was able to use that footwork and keep him at a distance. He wasn't able to operate like he normally does. Bumquavius. Also, I just watched Khan go up 2 divisions to face Canelo, and Canelo won by knockout. Out of the year. Triple G fought Kell Brook, and Kell went up 2 weight classes and got destroyed by Triple G, though. Did you know that? Let me see. Sugar Ray Leonard went up 2 divisions to fight Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and he beat him. I think he moved up 2 divisions to fight Tommy Hearns. Beat him. There's been fighters jump up 2 divisions and win. So pointing out guys who jump up 2 divisions and lose, that's irrelevant, my guy. What are we going to do? We're going to go back and forth? Oh, well, this guy went 2 divisions and he won. Like, that's irrelevant, my brother. Who moved up and who lost in different fights, that's irrelevant, my brother. That's irrelevant. Jay, them niggas ain't go to Mexico to party. They went to Mexico for clenbuterol. Bro, we're talking about a youth football team. A youth football team. They were all teenagers. They all tested positive for clenbuterol. Come on now, bro. You see, now you just on some hating shit. Like, yo, let me just say that they did it for this reason. Come on, bro. Why you gotta hate like that? Don't do them like that, man. A bunch of people have gone there and tested positive after consuming the food in Mexico. Derek, yeah, I got fam out there, so I go visit out there. Ain't no FDA out in Mexico. And that's the thing, that clenbuterol is not illegal. Now it is a steroid, so for athletic purposes it is. But to use it for animals, for whatever, for growth, it's not illegal. Ozzy, the closer the fight comes, more people are picking Terrence. What you think about Snack? So, I gotta tell you, I would say that more people are picking Terrence Crawford as it gets closer. But, Canelo Alvarez has his fan base. He got his people. And there's going to be a lot of people. And I'm going to tell you right now, Canelo will be the favorite. Remember that I told you that. Canelo Alvarez will be the favorite to win that fight. Maker, what you think about Snack? I mean, honestly, I don't think anything about Snack. They're another company. Now, Victor Conte, he has, a great cloud above him because stuff that he has been involved in. But at the end of the day, I don't like to take one thing and bunch it in together with everything else. Nothing from Snack has been proven to be illegal. Nothing from Snack has been proven to be, something that's giving athletes an advantage. So I'm not into conspiracies, my brother. I don't make stuff up out of thin air. Like, oh, since Victor Conte's gonna be there, let me connect all the dots and decide that Snack is this. Nah, I don't do that, my brother. You're gonna, if you follow Box Center, if you come through here, you're gonna see that I don't do conspiracies and I don't make stuff up out of thin air to attack somebody. So Right now, Snack, a legitimate company that some boxers are working with. That's what I know. That Derek, nah, Ryan the whole weirdo. Ozzy, Usyk thinks Terrence is gonna win. Bivol also said he got Terrence Crawford winning the fight. MAW, hello boxing fans, G in chat, subscribe, share, and smash that like button. Please, folks. Hell yeah, my brother. Appreciate you, MAW. Y'all already know, my people. There's 17 of us, and I got 18 likes, but a lot of you haven't hit that like button, man. Stop playing with me. Y'all know I'm not a C-level fighter out here getting knocked out. Ozzy, I don't think Canelo used clenbuterol. It's too harsh for boxing. Too harsh on the heart. There are better PEDs, and clean isn't a great one. I mean, like I said, man, when I looked at all of the circumstances, the way that situation played out, I believe that he actually consumed tainted food. Mr. Kyle, facts. As the fight get close, it'll be more clear that Canelo would be the favorite. Yeah, Canelo, look, because that's the one thing. I'm not one of the people that, for me to give the preference or the flowers to one fighter, I gotta discredit another fighter. I don't have to discredit Canelo. I got all the respect in the world for him. Canelo is one of the best fighters in the world right now, a pound for pound fighter, and he's gonna go down as one of the best in history. Canelo is gonna be on the all-time pound for pound list. That's how much respect I got for him. Simple as that. But when I see Terrence Crawford and everything that he has accomplished and his trajectory, his style of boxing, I got him beating Canelo. Just because I got him beating Canelo doesn't mean I'm putting Canelo down. Canelo's a great fighter. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. MAW, I believe in innocent until proven guilty, but context also matters. I agree with you 100%, my brother. Innocent until proven guilty, context definitely matters. Ozzy, the one thing about you, Jay, is that you don't hate on Canelo. You just give your opinion. And that's what I try to do, my brother. I don't hate on no fighters. That's why sometimes when I give my opinion on Tank Davis, for example, we have Tank Davis fans who feel like I'm hating on him. But when I talk about his skills, I always say it. Tank Davis is a great fighter, one of the best of this era, a special talent. But when we talk about his resume, he's not fighting the best out there. He's not stepping in the ring versus the guys who are the best of this generation. Not doing it. So I'll be knocking him for that. Brian Romero, what does the win do for Crawford if he beats Canelo? Top 10 all time? So if Terrence Crawford beat Canelo Alvarez, he automatically is the best fighter of this era. That argument can already be made because he's the first to become undisputed in 2 divisions, right? But if he beats Canelo now, he'll be undisputed in 3 divisions. There'll be no argument to make as to who's the best fighter of this era. It's Terrence Crawford. But we'll have no choice but to put him in that all-time greats conversation and see where he lands. I think if he beats Canelo, we're going to have to talk about top 10. We're going to have to talk about top 10 all time. You got to think about it. You got to think about it. If he moves up 2 divisions to beat Canelo Alvarez and to become undisputed champion in 3 weight classes, you got to talk about top 10. Maybe even top 5. Maybe even top 5. And I'm even thinking in my head top 3 right now. Like, yo, we might be talking top 3. That's how big that victory would be for Terrence Crawford. Derek, funny thing is, people will still try to discredit him. I agree with you. I agree with you. Because you saw what happened with Errol Spence. The same people that were saying Spence was going to knock Crawford out, as soon as Crawford stopped him, what did they say? Oh, the car accident, and Spence wasn't the same no more, and the eye. So I think Crawford beats Canelo, they're going to do the same thing. Oh, Canelo didn't look the same. Something was wrong with Canelo, and I don't know what else. The hate is going to be real. Ozzy, if he beat Canelo, only Usyk can compare in this generation. Usyk is going to be in the argument. Usyk is definitely going to be in the argument. I'm going to put Crawford ahead of Usyk, but Usyk is in that conversation. Usyk is one of the greatest fighters of this era. He's already in that convo. Jay, it's funny because everything they said Crawford said, they was going to say. I'm trying to tell you. Yo, I already had somebody hit me up. And tell me, yo, if Crawford beats Canelo, that means he was on steroids. Only on steroids he could move up and beat Canelo. Look, I got somebody who already gave me the excuse. That they already got the excuses on deck, ready. Let me put my excuse right here. When I'm ready, I'm going to lay it out. Derek, I almost feel like people are even fight fans. You see people backing the loudmouth Ryan Garcia and these inactive fighters always getting into drama. I agree with you 100%, man. I agree. Sometimes, and, you know, when you're a fight fan, you should just be a fan of boxing. And if you don't like a guy, you don't like him, cool. But we have fight fans who, so-called fight fans, who they spend most of their time hating on fighters. They spend most of their time discrediting fighters. Like, yo, what are you a fan of? Are you a fight fan if you're only a fan of 3-4 undefeated fighters? You're not a fan, you hate on everybody else? Ozzy, imagine if he stops Canelo. Boxing world would go crazy. That would be insane. Honestly, I see the fight going the distance simply because Canelo can take a shot, man. Canelo can take, he took Triple G's biggest shots. So it would be real hard for Crawford to stop him. Not impossible. Not impossible. It can happen. The right shot at the right moment can stop anybody. But can it happen? It's tough. It's tough. I see the fight going the distance. Bonquavius, what's your opinion on Terrence saying Manny isn't an all-time great because he doesn't believe Manny didn't take any PEDs? He brings up the time that Floyd pressed Manny to make tests, but he refused. I mean, he has his reasons. Look, if you believe that Manny Pacquiao did steroids, then he's not going to be an all-time great because you think he cheated. Now, to me, Manny Pacquiao did not do steroids. I would love to have a conversation with Terrence Crawford about Manny Pacquiao. Maybe one day I will have it. Maybe one day I will. I'll be hitting him up in private sometimes. But I want to talk with Bud about that point of view that he has about the steroids. Maybe one day me and him will have that conversation. But I disagree with Crawford. I got Manny Pacquiao as a Hall of Famer. Manny Pacquiao, to me, is 3 fighters that could be considered the greatest of all time. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Muhammad Ali. Any of those 3 that you put at number 1, number 2, number 3, I'm not mad at you. I think that Manny Pacquiao could be number 1, Floyd Mayweather number 2, Muhammad Ali number 3. You could put Muhammad Ali number 1, Floyd Mayweather number 2, Manny Pacquiao number 3. Any which way that you move them around, I'm okay with that top 3. That's my perspective. Ozzy, but you have to give Canelo a lot of credit if he stopped Crawford's 2. Of course. Of course. Crawford is a 2-division undisputed champion, a 3-division champion, a unified champion. Crawford has done, a 4-division champion. Crawford has done more than enough to have a stacked Hall of Fame resume. If Canelo beats him, not even if it's a stoppage, even if he beats him on points, that'll be a huge win for Canelo. Bumquavius. Yet Floyd was popped taking steroids at some point. So Bumquavius, let me correct that for you, my brother. Floyd was never popped taking steroids. You're talking to the human algorithm, the oracle, J. Stradamus. So I'm going to tell you, Floyd got popped with an illegal IV. Now, the illegal IV could mean that he was doing steroids and hiding it. IV is illegal in boxing and in sports because you can mask steroids with IV fluids. But Floyd Mayweather was not popped with steroids. He never tested positive for steroids, never got popped with steroids. And the same thing with Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao never got popped for steroids. Neither got. So instead of, trying to sell conspiracies and trying to sell this guy got popped, let's just keep it 100. Floyd and Manny Pacquiao, neither guy ever tested positive for steroids, ever. MAW, my greatest of all time is Sugar Ray Robinson. But Ali, FMM, and Pac-Man are right up there too. So, Sugar Ray Robinson, I know the history about it. I know, that how many, he won a bunch of fights before he lost for the first time. Then he went on a long-ass winning streak again before losing. So I know that he was a great fighter, but I didn't get to watch him myself. He fought back in an era where, number one, all of the fights were not televised. Number two, the quality of the video footage doesn't really let you appreciate it. The way that we can watch the fights now and look at the movements, look at the footwork, look at the skills. So for that reason, it's hard for me to, guys like Sugar Ray Robinson, Rocky Marciano, and other fighters who were greats of an era that they didn't televise it, so we can't really see it like that. So I know he was a great fighter, but I can't rank him myself. MAW. Derek, salute, brother. Ozzy. Sugar Ray Robinson looks spectacular on tape. Facts. He looks spectacular, but I feel like we don't have, or at least me, the way that I my criteria, I don't have enough footage to say, yeah, he's better or worse than this guy, or where I'm ranking him. I don't rank guys from eras, from back then, even from before Ali. Anybody who fought before the Ali era, I don't even rank them for that reason. Bumquavius, sadly, if Salvador Sanchez didn't pass away too early, he could have been number one by a long shot. But we will never know. I have Salvador Sanchez number 3 all time. Listen, Salvador Sanchez is a guy who he could have ended his career as number 1 all-time great or been up there. Unfortunately, he died. And even, I think he was 23. Even at the young age he died, he beat multiple Hall of Famers at such a young age. He would have been one of the greatest fighters of all time. He would have definitely been. And even now, in Mexico, people still have that argument. I mean, not in Mexico. Even Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. said that he was his favorite fighter. Remember when he wore the Salvador Sanchez shirt and they asked him about it? He said, Salvador Sanchez is one of my favorite fighters. So when you have a Roy Jones Jr., a guy of that talent, tell you Salvador Sanchez is my favorite fighter, that tells you what it was. Ozzy, I don't think Salvador Sanchez would have went up many weight classes. He would have been one of the greatest featherweights of all time. Ozzy, but we never know. We'll never know. But his greatness is already there. He proved that he was a great fighter. Derek, yeah. Mike brings him up too. My peoples, I'm about to end this live. As always, before I do, I want to give a shout out to everybody who came through. I appreciate you, my peoples. Y'all already know, man. Tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be back on. We're going to be live. We're going to be talking boxing. You see it, my peoples. I'm Jay Smith. This is Box Center. This is your favorite boxers. favorite boxing show. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And I seen some of you, my peoples, who shared my videos. Took videos from YouTube and shared it on Instagram or shared it on Facebook. Somebody shared one of my videos on Facebook, and I seen that. I appreciate it, my peoples. Whenever you share my content, that means a whole lot to me. So thank you guys. And y'all already know, man. I'm going to see you guys tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Peace, salute, bam, and one love to everybody, yo. I'm out of here.